Greetings and thank you so much. Welcome to Earground, New Voices Amplified. I'm super excited. Today is the 19th of April, just the day after the independence of Zimbabwe. And yes, we'll be talking to an artist, a creative, an author who's based in the UK. Her name is Miriam Kwenda Mutize. And affectionately, she's known as Auntie Mimi. Auntie Mimi, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Plot Marco, for having me. Your reputation precedes you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm greatly humbled, to hear that from a person of your stature who has managed to create literally material that has been well received. And I would want to get more into that, but a bit later. To start off with, I would want to know just a bit about yourself. Who's Miriam? Who's Auntie Mimi?
Lovely. My name is Miriam Kwenda Mutize, as Plot has just told us, and I'm lovingly known as Auntie Mimi. I am a mother, a wife. When I'm not writing books, I'm a pediatric nurse, and I'm also an elder at church. I'm a religious woman. Yes.
Wow, quite interesting. Pediatric nurse, an elder at church, a wife at home, and a mother. All these things, but you still afford to get time to write books. This is quite interesting. I'll be getting straight to that. But tell us just a bit about your childhood. Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? What sort of influences did you have?
Okay, I was born to a chief's son, an heir to a chief's son, and I was born the second daughter. So I wasn't an heir because I was a girl. So they said a girl again. And
Yes.
as sadly, my parents divorced when I was very young. So I was raised by my maternal grandmother, who also was a writer. So nearly everyone in my family, they are writers. Yes. So I grew up in Gweru, went to Sandara Primary School. Just
Yes.
at the end of my primary school, we migrated to the United Soviet Republic, USSR, to Russia.
USSR.
Yes, and we lived in Moscow. I lived in Moscow in my teens. The education system was slightly different from the education system in Zimbabwe. So I
Yes.
realized I needed to go back to Zimbabwe. So I came back to Zimbabwe. I set my GCSEs and my A levels. Then again, I migrated to the United Kingdom. And
Wow.
this is where I did my training as a nurse.
Wow. Quite interesting that, you have lived in different countries, but still you remain rooted. You're still connected to your roots. You're still documenting and writing about content that relates to where you come from.
Yes.
How do you manage this?
How did I manage that? I always found Shona to be very beautiful. One of the things from my early age, the things I loved Ngano.
Okay,
When they
great.
tell us the story about the baboon and the hair,
Yes.
Turona Gudo. I
Yeah.
used to love that. It used to fascinate me. And I found that, like when you are a teenager, because I
Yes.
did my teens in Moscow, the teenagers, they were a different culture and they would take risks. But I never took risks because I read that story about Suro and Gudo, when the other one was put in a pot and they were playing this game with
Yes.
each other in a pot. And I always thought I don't want to be cooked. So I never took any risks. So
Wow.
yes,
Sekuru Gulo Tswiramo.
you
You just brought some beautiful fond memories. I think it's been like 20 or so years. I
know.
last heard that, and you just reignited something.
Yes.
Great, great. And talking about you getting into the literal arts, how long have you been writing?
So from when I was a child, I would just write. If I found an empty book, I would just write in it. My
Wow.
mom was a secretary, so she
Mhm.
kept like planners. You know what is a planner?
Yes,
She kept planners. Eh,
everything planned down.
Yeah, so she would plan it, but because she would leave like gaps in those books, I would go and I would write in them, scribble in them Poor woman, poor woman had to put up with me. And then when I lived in Moscow, when I would be given like pocket money, I would buy diaries and I would write stories. And I wrote 3 books in my teens.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. But sadly, I thought it was a hobby. I thought it was a hobby.
Wow.
I,
Great.
I never realized that actually this is something that could be published. But those are, I think about it, they were quite rich manuscripts that could be turned into books today.
Quite interesting because now with the current generation of, especially the younger people, the reading culture is dying. They
Yeah.
are more getting into the digital platforms. If they are to read, they are reading all the stuff on social media, but not really taking time to read. But you were reading and you were writing, and you're still writing. What sort of material were you reading as a young person, and now what kind of books do you read?
What kind of books do I read? First and foremost, for me, it is the words. So if I see a certain word, it will ring in my mind. And if it
Yes.
is an article that is there, then I have to read it because that word keeps bothering me. I don't know if it makes sense. Like someone made a post and they
Yes.
say, this is a clarion. And the word clarion just went into my mind. And I went past the post. I had to go back to it to read because that word stuck with me. So words, first and foremost, it is the words. When someone says a word, I analyze that word. That word just goes in my head. And I'm
Yes.
thinking about it. What could it mean? Could it mean this? Could it mean this? So I never interpret a word with one meaning. I think of all the possible meanings. And I find words very fascinating. So but reading wise, I read a lot of books as I was growing up. There are 2 books that really stayed on with me. One of them is called Runako Munjodzi. That influenced me because it was talking about a beautiful woman who was called Runako, who was beautiful on the inside and on the outside.
Wow.
And she went through a lot of persecution because of her beauty. She was a fair woman, and because she was fair, the people thought that she was a loose woman because of that. And she was always misjudged and stigmatized. And it was so painful to walk her journey. But then it touched me because I realized that sometimes women are misunderstood. When we wear jewelry, when we wear makeup, when we wear in a dress in a certain way, sometimes we are misunderstood, but it does not necessarily mean we are that. But tinenge tangopfekawo hedu because kuda tachifarira asi umwe munhu anogona kutongotidhismisa ototi munhu mapfekero ake and they'll close a door to an opportunity that should be mine because of the way I'm dressed.
Wow. And talking about stereotypes and issues to relating to women and how society views and treats them, does this also form part of the narratives that you're touching on? What sort of topics are you writing on?
Right. So when I wrote about Tete, I looked at Tete like you've got Tete, who's your mother's brother, your father's sister, isn't it? And
Yes.
you've got your Tete, who's your husband's sister. You've got
Yes.
Tete, who's your father-in-law's sister. All those people are your Tetes. And I looked at the woman as a Tete, that Tete is any woman. Any woman you find yourself, if you have a brother, you are now a Tete. But as a Tete, you've got needs. You have to make choices about your life. But the time
Yes.
Tete ndiwo vanoraira.
Yeah. True.
Iwewe uchifanirwa kurayirawo une mamwe mararamiro auri kuita.
Yeah, that's true.
Saka mararamiro acho zvinocorrelata sei. And the other thing that I noticed was that I'm sorry that sometimes I'm mixing with Shona.
No.
It's
It's
right.
actually good. Yeah.
All right. So like when I found that family peace is to do with women. If
Yes.
women in your family are peaceful, the men don't bother about much. Really, if I came and I was wearing my short dress, You all look at me and say, she's wearing a short dress, and think what you think. You won't think much about it. But it is either women that will stigmatize
We
each
start
other.
to judge.
Yes. So when I address Tete, I just address the choices that women make. And this is a woman who's migrated from Africa. You've got things that you were taught as you were growing up. Then you go into Europe, there's a different lifestyle altogether there. And for you not to be put out of the inner circle, you have to adjust to the way of life there. So even your dressing, it changes. When I was living in Moscow, it was so cold that all we wore were trousers. When I returned to Zimbabwe, I was wearing my trousers. And oh my God, that wasn't received very well. And I was going to a church, a very good church, but I had dresses. You can't say to your parents, buy me dresses and trousers, because in Zimbabwe people won't understand me because I'm wearing trousers. You're just wearing what you were wearing because you've come for a holiday. So mainly I found it was the women that approached me. And if we understood each other as women, I feel like some of the problems that we have would be less.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And talking about the books that you've published, you're talking there about Tete. Was this your first publication?
Yes.
And how long did you take for you to put up this project? And I've seen, I think, you have Tete 1, Tete 2.
And 3 is coming
And
soon.
3 is coming, yes. Okay, so how long did it take for you to put up this project? And was it your first production?
Yeah, so it was my first project. For me, writing was a hobby. I have to say, it was a hobby, and I go to a church called Zayoja. I don't
Okay, for
know.
him, yeah.
Yeah, and I had a young pastor and his wife. So before they became pastors, they were business people. So they are very progressive. So, like when we were having meetings, they would say, uh, we'll ask Elder Mimi to write for us. And she's a very good writer. And I'm like, what? And I would write. I would write. So I went to see the pastor's wife for a project I wanted to do, because she used to be a businesswoman. I said, Mom, this is what I want to do. And I explained it to her, and I thought it was a very good plan.
Yeah.
She looked at me and she said, what about your writing?
Wow.
So because she was a young woman, I was thinking, this young woman, she wants me, a grown woman, to take the hobby of writing. Because writing is a hobby, isn't it? In Africa,
people don't take it serious. Very
yes,
few people write for like
yes,
a profession, but at most it's like a hobby, it's seen as a hobby.
yes. Journalists write for money. Teachers write because they are teachers. Married women, they write because it's a hobby, not because it's something. So I did not understand, but they kept pushing me. So one day I had written this piece of work, and I thought, do I really write this good? Because of what they kept saying to me. So I posted it to Neander Radio.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yes. Yeah. So I just inboxed them on Messenger, and the next thing it was published. I was like, what? So I can be published.
Yeah.
So then I realized that actually I could actually be good. Then there was a gospel group that was just doing what they were doing, and they needed to promote in the newspapers what they were doing. So they asked me if I could write. So I was writing articles for them in newzimbabwe.com.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were publishing them. And, like you go there to see how much have they edited.
Yes. And then you say it's not so much.
Not so much. Then I thought, so maybe I can write. So one day I wrote a chapter of Tete Volume 1, and I posted it on the women's forum. It's called Ladies of UK. How was I mutilated? People just criticizing everything. But as they were criticizing, I realized that I had written something real. Because they were saying, how can a Tete do this? And people getting angry. But because it was part of my work, initially I was offended. But then I realized, no, they're not talking about me. They're talking about this character. This character is so real that I can develop it. So I wrote chapter 2 and I posted it on my reflections. It's a page that I run.
Yes.
People said they wanted some more. And I thought, okay,
Maybe I should write more.
maybe I should write more.
Yes.
So I started writing. I was studying. I would travel for 2 hours to go to where I was studying. So when I was in the train, I was writing on my tablet.
Yeah.
And I think it took me a good 6 months of
Oh, wow.
traveling up and down, up and down.
And
And if
writing a book.
I sit down, I'll just write. I'll just write.
Oh,
And when it came out, I was surprised.
wow.
Yeah, I was.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So my journey actually became a bit difficult because I had written a Shona book and I
Yes.
was living in the United Kingdom. I tried to get publishing houses in Africa to publish my book. Then
Yes.
it was difficult. But what worked was that I approached an English company,
Mhm.
and that English company said they would give me the formatting. That was the biggest blessing that happened to me. They would give me the formatting so that I would format the book myself, so that they would then publish it for me. So they did the cover for me. The
Yes.
first cover was really good. It was by a Zimbabwean artist, very good sculptor.
Oh,
And then I formatted the book and I gave it to them. Then when I submitted it to them, because they are like a multi-billion-dollar company,
yes.
they put my work at the bottom because
Oh,
obviously they are a multi-billion-dollar
yes.
company and they did not see my book making billions in the United Kingdom because of the target audience.
Yeah.
So in a way, it was good because then I formatted a book myself and did another version, which I self-published on Amazon.
Oh, interesting.
So from that moment, I became a
You
publisher.
became a publisher. Wow,
Yes, yeah, I publish and format books.
you have no idea how much this has motivated me. It has sort of reignited my zeal and my drive. And I think for those that are watching, there is one, two, three, four that have actually been inspired by your story, because a lot of the times we're thinking we need so many resources to actually pursue our talents, our careers in writing and other things. But you use the time that you're commuting to and from school and on your tablet
Yeah,
to write a book, and now you have something published. The same tablet that we use to send negative news, the
yeah,
same tablet that we use for trolling and other things. We could
yeah,
potentially use it for positive things.
definitely,
Wow. And, and,
definitely.
and how is your work schedule like? Do you have hours that are set up for your writing work, or it's something that you just do in between?
So I do the writing in between. I've got a very good supportive family.
Great.
Perhaps my husband is a very supportive man, and the children are very supportive. I think when I launched Tete Volume 2, I involved my children in it. I helped them to fill the book to say, what do you think? And they were giving me comments as to say, maybe, baby mom, you should do this, you should do that. Then, as part of the launch, I involved them in doing activities at the launch.
Mhm.
So now they understand that it is important for mom to have time to write. So if I told
Absolutely.
them mom is having time to write, they do try, but they do come and say, Mom, I
Yes.
said you're writing. I know you said you're writing. But my family
Nice.
understand that our mom is a writer. So
Wow.
I'm very fortunate that my family is good like that.
Great. And talking about the launch, how was the reception? How was the response? How are people responding to the book post the launch?
Post the launch, I think I first I was overwhelmed because there are some people who attended because they had read volume 1.
Oh, wow.
So they had been waiting for volume 2. But I didn't realize so it was like a form of feedback to have people come and be part of the launch and tell me what they thought. Then the people that just came for the launch of volume 2, because
Yes.
the way volume 2 starts, you just have
Yes.
to go back to volume 1.
Wow.
So I found that it was really good. I've had people who say we don't read Shona, and I've said to them, it's really like Shona. Can you try? But because the story is so engrossing, they forget that they can't read Shona.
Okay, great. I can relate. And you talked about publishing earlier on, that at first you had a publisher and now you're self-publishing yourself. How do you get this done? You're putting your books on Amazon and
on
Gutenberg.
Amazon. Yeah.
And
Oh, sorry.
yeah, so now I wanted to hear a bit more in terms of how you're getting your works published now.
Okay. So I published them on Amazon. Before
Okay.
they used to have what is called Create Space.
Yes.
But now I think it's called Amazon Kindle PDP. This
Mhm.
is how the app you use. So you just go, literally with Amazon, you are just registering your email and you go into the bookshelf, then you submit your work. So you've got your documents and you have to
Yes.
submit it as a PDF and you have to do your margins right. But
Mhm.
if you go on the bookshelf on that app, it will tell you the margins to use. So
Okay.
literally, once you've done the margins on your Word document, you transfer it to PDF. Once it's
Yes.
on PDF, you upload it, and they would do proofreading for you. So they have
Yes.
services that they do for you, which are free, like formatting. They will
Mhm.
tell you margins, proofreading. They will give you a copy for you to do proofreading for yourself. And if
Great.
it's an English book, it will have like red highlighters where you need to edit yourself.
Okay, great.
But if it's an English book, you have to understand that we speak Shona English. So I would advise that maybe get someone who's an editor,
To
professional editor,
actually go through it.
to edit it for you. I got my husband and my brother to
To
proofread,
edit.
to say edit, but to proofread
Mhm.
my book. Then I submitted it. It is them. It is free. You pay nothing
Mhm.
unless if you take their service. You can design your own cover by yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's there. So
Wow.
anyone can be a publisher.
Wow. That's so great. And your word to somebody who's watching right now, possibly they are in a place where they don't see much hope, where they feel like right now with the lockdown situation, there's little hope, and then there are real struggles. Either they are in Dotito, or they're in Dangamvura, or they are in Amaveni, or in Mudiriro. What would you say to them? Their dream is to actually become an author, to become a publisher. They love to write. What would you say to them?
So what I would say perhaps is that first and foremost, just to write. The problem of publishing is a better problem than a problem of not having appropriate work. Write as much as you can. Um, I know people in Otito may not have Masai Sai. They're called
Yeah,
Masai
yeah,
Sai.
yeah.
So,
Network.
so perhaps go to your local library, see what activities are there for your local library. If there isn't any, start some. Start some, get a group of people to come read it together. Like I met someone who introduced me to you on a book club that is on
Oh,
WhatsApp.
great. Wow.
Yes, isn't it, Mr. Marco? So I'm thinking if they do clubs, promote reading, promote literature. The thing
Mhm.
with literature is we are saying a message. It does
Yes.
not necessarily have to be in a book, but we are giving a message.
Mhm.
If you are someone who is has access to Facebook, I'll say open your page and start writing on your page and share on any platform that you can get and just share and share and share because you are writing to share your story or your thoughts with others so that they can look at the world in a different light. So
Wow.
I would say, although the technology seems like it's a negative thing, you can use it positively.
Positively.
Yes, and give a message across. But local libraries have got activities that they do to
Mhm.
promote literature, involve yourself in things like that. There are book fairs. I think in Zimbabwe there is a book fair that I
Yeah,
like.
the National
International
Book
book
Fair.
fair.
Yes.
Yes, I think the one they have in the Harare Gardens it's free.
Yes, it is.
The authors exhibiting. Yeah, go and meet some authors. Tell them because someone may publish your book for you.
Yes.
Another thing is that of connections. Make connections with people that are writers.
Wow.
Follow people that are writing, isn't it?
Yeah, true, true, true.
Yeah, that way you come across someone that might help you. I have had people who have just come and shoved a manuscript at me. They've never said hello to me.
Yes.
It's like, I'm a writer. No, build relationships, build networks, so that.
That's quite a very interesting thing that you just mentioned there. I don't know whether it's the social fabric that's getting torn or it's us losing our manners, because I interact with a lot of artists, and at most of the times, the biggest struggle that I find between artists, creatives, and the opportunity and where they're supposed to be is the attitude and the ability to communicate. Because I get a lot of music without even saying hi, without even introducing yourself, and there's and like not even that manner. Because I think a simple greeting, hello, hi, I
Yeah.
am
Sorry.
Plot, and I'm a writer. I want to write. Could you please, if you have time, you know, it changes everything. And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I know I can relate there.
Yeah. I think I don't know whether it is our social fabric or it is a cultural thing, because some people have already built castles in the air, and they're already living in those castles. By the time they are coming to you, they are in that castle, but
Yes.
they haven't actually built the castle in real life. So,
Yes.
so they need to break down that virtual castle they have and come back down and just start to talk to people. I talk to everyone because
Yes.
the people I'm talking to are the ones that I want to read my books. So
Yes.
although I'm an accomplished writer, I have
Yes.
to, yeah, I have to talk to people, to greet people, because they're the ones that will read. Otherwise, I'm stuck with my book and
Yeah.
my
Very true.
beautiful writing.
Wow. Great. Great. And I mean, looking at, I was having a conversation with one artist from South Africa, and he said the biggest challenge that we have, not just as Zimbabweans, but as Africans, is that we are not documenting, we are not writing books.
Yeah,
A lot of our narratives are lost, or either we only celebrate them when they've been captured by Hollywood, when they've been captured
yeah,
by other platforms. But we
yeah,
don't write our own stories, and we have so many stories to write about. And if we look at the European countries, everything is documented. They have manuscripts. They're able to go back and say what happened this year. They have fiction. They have reality. And what's your take on that? Do you think we are writing enough? What's your sentiment?
I think we have a lot of potential writers. And obviously, we have to get past the hobby thing that we are thinking writing is a
Yes.
hobby. Then I belong to a group called Zim Women Writers in UK.
Okay.
And the ethos of that organization is that our own stories in our own voices. So we are having baby steps. We haven't gone that far. But the ethos behind that is to try and get us women to tell our stories.
Mhm.
I read a manuscript from one lady who lived during the liberation struggle.
Yes.
God, I cried. I cried because a
Wow.
woman is very much vulnerable, very much vulnerable. And a girl child needs to be protected. If you don't protect the girl child, she'll go through a lot of things. But a woman can be vulnerable but can hold things in. And you won't know they have those things. So
Yeah.
she is just as vulnerable as women are. Her story just narrates the ordeal of the girl child during the liberation struggle.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that one of the days it will be out because it's a very good manuscript. But it is not someone who is not a Zimbabwean telling us about what happened to the women of Zimbabwe. It is a Zimbabwean woman
Yes.
that lived through that experience that is telling us that vulnerability and in the language that we understand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Great. And talking about Zimbabwe, we just had our independence yesterday. What is your hope? What is your prayer right now with regard to Zimbabwe?
Zimbabwe, I'll just say when I came to the United Kingdom,
Yes.
they used to say you come from Zimbabwe. The respect you used to get, because Zimbabwean people are educated people.
Mhm.
Uh, Even when we are talking, there was this big person that came to my work, And they said, I know you're from Zimbabwe. And I said, why? She said, Zimbabwean people are posh. They've got a certain way that they carry themselves. So we are a nation that has got good moral values, good cultures, good traditions. We went through a difficult patch. It happens even in marriages, these things happen. What is my hope? My hope is that the people of Zimbabwe will arise, will take a stand on the global arena, because I feel like we have got a lot to offer on the global arena. I know a lot of people who are doing great things who are Zimbabweans all over the globe. And I think as a nation, when we start to recognize those people and those people start to affiliate themselves to our country, I think we're a force to reckon with, actually.
Great. Powerful words there. And on a lighter note, what do you do in your pastime? Like, you're not writing, you are not doing anything in connection to your work or your school. What sort of things do you occupy yourself with?
So I run a group called Dear Auntie Mimi, as an agony auntie. It found me. It's not something that I was planning to do, but it found me. And technology has been good because I have worked with women and vulnerable families from all over the globe. And I've just like access them, open their eyes to say you can access resource from this organization. I Google organizations in their area and I give them advice on things to do. Now we have moved, we've launched a group called Zim Community Hub. So Zim, yeah, so this community hub is literally just to bring the resources so that when our Zimbabwean people are in need of something, we draw from our Zimbabwean colleagues who are doing things. We recently came across a very interesting organization run by Zimbabwean men here in the United Kingdom, where they are offering accommodation for immigrants who have no papers. Yeah, so this community hub has just opened avenues for us to know what are the resources available. So yeah, so you find that when people migrate, if they don't have documents, then it becomes trickier, they become vulnerable, and especially if they are women. So this all came and it built up from this group. It's a Facebook group called Dear Auntie. It's not even big. It's very small. I think about 1,500 people.
Which
But
is still a good number.
yeah. So yeah, that's what I do in my pastime. If I'm not writing, I'm running the Auntie.
Great. 5 years from now, where do we see Auntie Mimi?
5 years from now,
Yes.
I see a blockbuster, one or two.
Yes.
If I'm not the one who's written the script, I maybe commented a little on that script. So that's where I see.
That's so great. That's so great. And right now, with the lockdown situation, with the corona pandemic, how has that impacted on your life and your daily routine?
So for me, when we went into lockdown, uh, I just thought I was giving my children advice, and I said we need to have positive steps. Each and every one of us has to have positive steps. So I decided to do a positive step. One of my positive steps was I opened a book club. And I was reading Tete Volume 1 to a group of women. And after I'd done that, it opened doors for me that I did not even know existed. So I feel like, although I've been in lockdown, I have worked so much. I've worked so much online. So yeah, so what I would say to my brothers and sisters who are in lockdown, find something positive to do. If you are someone that does knitting, knit as many scarves as you can. Winter is gonna come, you can sell those scarves. If you are someone that likes cooking, research on recipes, design recipes that you can write down. You can even have a recipe book at the end of it. Do something positive for you.
Great. Wow, it's been awesome speaking to you, and thank you so much for your wonderful, kind, and inspiring words. I've learned so much from just this conversation,
Oh,
And I believe those that are watching also learned 1 or 2, 3 things. And there's an author who one day give a testimony that it was through this video that they managed to uh, get their pen and paper and started writing, because they always dreamt to become an author and a publisher. And to those that are watching, I've also some great exciting news for you, because starting next week, we'll be having Auntie Mimi reading one of her books, Tete, and it's going to run, I think, for about 10 weeks. So we'll be sending you, sharing with you a couple of the information on how you can follow this program, what times, and it's all going to be happening on Earground, New Voices Amplified. And thank you so much for tuning in.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Murare zvakanaka.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.